What if someone used artificial intelligence to clone your voice, record a song with it, post it on digital streaming platforms, begins to generate millions of streams without you knowing about it? That is not a hypothetical question anymore. You see, a track called Iron went viral. The voice on it sounded unmistakably like Georgia Smith. It was not hers. AI had cloned her voice and listeners could not tell the difference. Her label came out swinging. They alleged that AI had cloned her voice and had misled the public. Our conversation has not stopped since. And right here in Lagos, just last month, the IFPI held its African Performance Rights Conference. Senior executives from across the continent in one room. The topics on the agenda included AI, what it means for music, what it means for rights, what it means for an industry that is growing faster than its legal architecture can keep up with. So it's not that the conversation is just coming here, it is already here. My name is Bayo Eshola. I'm an entertainment lawyer. I'm your host for Afropop and Law. And today, I want to ask and try to answer the question that keeps getting avoided when this conversation comes up. What does the Nigerian law say or not say about music and AI? Because the gap between what it says and what it does not say is where the money lives, is also where the danger lives. Let's be precise about what AI is doing in music right now. AI is being used to generate entirely new songs trained on the catalogs of existing artists. It is being used to clone voices. To clone the vocal timbre, vocal texture, the style and delivery of a real human being well enough that listeners may not be able to tell the difference. It is being used to generate derivative works. That's songs that are built on the compositional DNA of existing catalogs. It does all of this without copying a single bar. Each of those three things raises a separate question. And the Nigerian law, as it stands today, gives us some answers with respect to some and nothing with respect to others. On straightforward copyright infringement, as if AI reproduces a substantial part of an already existing copyrighted work. Well, the Copyright Act 2022 comes into play if that ever happens. And it's pretty straightforward. The reproduction rights of any work vests in the author. Producing such work without the permission of that author is straight up infringement. The law is pretty settled on that. But you see, voice cloning, that lives in a separate lane entirely. Because a voice is not, in strictly speaking terms, a copyrightable item. You cannot own a copyright in the sound of your own voice. What you can potentially claim is a violation of your personality rights and your image rights. That's the right to control how your identity is being commercially exploited. Nigerian law recognizes elements of this under tort law and more increasingly under the Copyright Act's moral rights provisions. But there is no specific statute in Nigeria today that says that you cannot clone a Nigerian artist's voice without their consent. That law does not exist as of today. And that gap is pretty significant because AI voice cloning technology is not waiting for the law to get enacted before it catches up. AI voice cloning technology is already being used on Afrobeat vocals on Nigerian artists in content that is being distributed globally. There is also the authorship question. You see, copyright requires a human author. That means that a song that has been entirely generated by AI with no human creative input cannot attract copyright protection, not under the current Nigerian law. which means that it sits in a legal gray area where nobody owns it, but anybody can use it. I know that you will be thinking that sounds like freedom, but it is a serious liability because that also means nobody can protect it. For African artists specifically, the AI question is not abstract anymore. Let me tell you why. Afrobeat is the most sampled, most referenced, most imitated sound in global popular music right now. The cultural fingerprint of Nigerian music is everywhere. And AI systems are being trained on that fingerprint without the consent, credit, or compensation of the artists who have created that cultural fingerprint. The IFPI said it in Lagos last month. AI agreements between technology companies and rights holders are increasingly becoming common, which means that the deals are being made. The question is whether African artists and their representatives are at those tables when those deals are being made. The law is always behind technology. That is not new. What is new is the speed of that gap and what is at stake if African music's most distinctive voices are cloned, commodified, and distributed globally while the artists receive nothing. The infrastructure conversation that we keep mentioning is not just about collecting societies, split sheets, or royalty systems. It is about building legal frameworks that are fast enough to protect what African creativity is producing before someone else builds a business on top of it. I'm Bayo Shola. This is Afropop and Law. Subscribe, follow, and share this with every artist or music exec that you know. Because the next frontier of the legal battles that this industry might face is not going to be in a contract room. It is an algorithm, and we have to be ready. Thank you for watching.